There we go. All right. Can you see the screen okay? If you don't have your mic on, Polly, don't worry about it. Just trying to get set up here. Trying to go back and see all the stocks folks been talking about over the weekend here. I know we've got the hot one to look at right now is V. This is a 3 million float. It's been out. Yeah, it's been trading for since last year, almost a year. Yeah, actually over a year. Um, earnings per share 8 cents, revenue of 8 million, 158% increase in revenue. That's always good. Let's take a look a little bit and see what other folks are saying about it. This was the hot one after hours, up 77%. Next to Embark Technology, which had a float of 341. I don't care about that one. So this broke all-time high. That's a good sign. Let's go ahead and mark this up. We've got a gap, of course, so keep an eye on that. And let's see if we can predict where this thing's going. 840. At this point, we really can only use Fibonacci retracements. Trying to find a common level here where the lines match up. All right, so this color. I'm gonna change the color of this Fibonacci here. Fibonacci. All right, now we can start drawing some lines. I haven't had a chance to really go over the news for the weekend, so it could be. I'm not really sure what's going to start popping off at 3 or 4 a.m. We go into the moon tomorrow. We're definitely going up, man. There's the even though people are kind of hesitant. They're yeah, they a lot of consensus on we've now advanced and moved into a new era out of the bull market, or excuse me, the bear market and into a bull market. I'm hearing from a few Wall Street um, old school guys that this is still just part of the bear market rally. Um, but then I've got a lot of the younger folks who've been doing this very skillfully as well, and they say no. The valuations for corporations came down to a level and are still at a very reasonable level. Let's take a look. I don't know about Apple, man. Apple just shot back up there. It's kind of making me wonder. 172. I mean, that's just an insane move for Apple. What's their profit earnings? They're in the 28s. Yeah, it's kind of creeping back up there. Let's see what's Tesla doing. Tesla's in the 20s. Oh no, they're way beyond that. I guess Tesla's probably not a good example. Microsoft. Oh, that photo. No, that's let's see. MSF. Come on, MSFT. What do we got? PE 30ish, 28 30s. Yeah, so we're kind of we're kind of just right back up there. What did SPY close at Friday? 427. Shit. Let's look at the daily real quick. Mm. Here's the line I'm looking at right here. Right in here. 430s, 431. We just, in my opinion, man, we've gone up too fast, too soon. I mean, even though it didn't seem like it though. It really, we sure as hell came down a lot sooner, but we haven't had a pullback. I thought for sure we were going to pull back in here and come back down, at least a little bit, but we didn't. We've been going up straight up since, so we'll see. SPY is going to be real interesting. We are in a nice trend channel. Get close to reaching the top, but we're due for a pullback soon. And the question is, how hard are we going to pull back? And to what level? I wouldn't be surprised for us to pull back here to this 417-ish, 18, 19, 20 maybe. DK, you got any thoughts? Going back to V here, let's draw out some charts. This will likely spike up to, if it breaks 10, which is a strong psychological level, we'll see where it goes from there. How much volume was on this thing? 5 minutes. It's a nice looking chart. If you look at the VWAP, shot straight up after hours. Good earnings, great earnings actually. Profit to earnings is actually way under, so we'll see. It's going to have to, you've got a small range here from the 820s. It looks like it's holding very strong, and then you'll get the push past 9 and 10. I mean, I would set now you're looking at previous day's high right there at 980. So for me, that's going to be, it's got to break through that. It can easily do it on this low of a float. So that'll be a key level to watch out for. And then what else did we have run here? Just looking for low float stocks over here. Free float 17 million. Not a lot of volume. Unity Biotech. No. Forza X1. 3 million float. This looks interesting. This looks interesting. Just kind of drawing out some levels here. I use the red to indicate take profit, sell, sell, sell. This could potentially turn into another, into a runner. What's the short? Let me open up my other. Moo is what I use to take a look at short analysis. And it updates daily, so this will tell us how many shorts were involved in this at its IPO, if there were any. This could just be no lockup period for shares, owners or employees, whoever got shares, investment firms. They could have the ability to sell shares at the market open. So FRZA, Forza X1. I think a formula, Forza X1. I think of Formula Racing when I see this. So the first day of trading, there was a shit ton of short selling. 19 million shares shorted. Don't miss out on it. Sweet. All right. Forza X1. Who is Forza X1? What is this? Electric boat. Oh yeah, electric boats. That's why V popped off. FX1. That's pretty sweet. Let's take a look at this real quick. I'm sure this drops down. 35 knots max. 215 horsepower. Oh, fucking can't even get a full day out on the boat. I don't know about that. Not impressed. Maybe that's why it's selling off. Who knows? All right, let's go to the next one here. This might be good for a pop on a 3 million float. It traded 19 million shares. So yeah, this is just people dumping. These are people dumping or shorting this stock, or obviously a little bit of both. But I'm showing 16. How many shares? Short volume. Just the Nasdaq was 1.3 million. Total short volume was 1.5 million on this. It traded 19 million shares. So not impressive so far. But this could come down lower too. That's the only bad thing. It's 7. So just keep an eye on it. You might be able to get some profits out of here, but right now it's kind of a little too risky. Let's go look at some other ones. These are just on the day. I'll look at the aftermarket ones here in just a second. MRAM. That's an interesting push. Everspin CEO. Earnings, 3/4, 14 million. Earnings per share. I mean, nothing special. 19 million float. It's a nice jump. I'd keep this one on watch for sure for continuation, but the volume was 1 million. So the spread must be. This reminds me of HKD. I think that. Let's take a look. Yeah, HKD. Haven't looked at this in a couple days. Not looking pretty though. I would definitely watch for the $100. If this thing drops down to $100, it's definitely got a nice little floor right here, though. Could be a false floor, but don't be surprised if this thing runs again. It's not gonna. I don't see it running to 2,500. Hell, I say that and watch it run to 10,000, but there are shares out there to short. They're not that many, but by now people have shares. They've bought them, they're turning around, and they've put them up for sale. Let's take a look here, Rennie. I haven't heard of a lot of these. This is an interesting pattern here. It's like a corkscrew pattern. When it starts to kind of wind up, and then at some point, it's got to make a decision. It's got to make a decision. Float 9.5 million. 63% revenue increase, so it's up on news too. Yeah. The thing that you're the small the micro caps and the penny stocks probably won't see as much volume as we have been lately because the rest of the market is on fire. I mean, Tesla. Let's take a look and see. We also need to look at futures. Futures. Look at Tesla here. I bought my other small account. I'm trading here. I bought Tesla call options right in here. This is a very, very important level here. On Friday, when this was trading, I watched people get stopped out right in here, and especially right over here. This is a previous level that's held before, previous day's low, and a lot of folks will get stopped out in here because they took the trade early. And with Tesla, you really got to give it almost 30 minutes, which is exactly what happened. But the key thing to watch with Tesla, especially when the previous day's low held, when Tesla drops like this right at the open and you see it holding, it's very likely going to have a lot of buyers come in and just buy it up. And that's what happened. And Tesla likes to trade off the 9 EMA. Let's get rid of this. Moving average. Yep. Kind of dipped down with, what do I have here? 21, 9 in the 21. And it just continued to climb. And now it's in a nice little channel. Broke above previous resistance at 900. And we've got FOMC minutes on Wednesday. So we're going to see, we might see a small run and we might see some traders. Well, we'll definitely see some traders pull out on Wednesday, actually on Tuesday. Monday today, we might see a small little rally, but you're going to see a lot of folks taking profit. I presume, if I had to guess. So that's Tesla here. Tesla has continued to bounce off of this trend line pretty consistently. That's why charting is so important. Dark Knight, he does a fantastic job of charting, and it's just technical analysis in this market has just been it's been spot on more often than anything else that you can attempt to predict. Let's go look at AMC. I think AMC has started to pull back a little. Same thing, AMC. What is this here? Yeah, I mean this upper trend line has really been strong. We did a little cup and handle here, broke through, and not only did we break through, I mean we pretty much skyrocketed through that on Friday before last news, and then came back down and bounced right off previous resistance, now becomes support. And so now we're seeing some support off of the 21 EMA. Let's see if this holds. Coming into AMC today, this morning, I don't really know how this trades. We shot straight up here on this day, and in pre-market we jumped up. So a lot of your swing traders are just traders who maybe have, I don't know, if they got in here, they obviously lost money. But bouncing off this trend line support is key. So if you see us dip down to this level here, I'm on the 5-minute chart, and it starts to hold support. That's going to be a great entry for this possible last Monday rally. But it might hit resistance though at this 200. Seems to here it kind of bounced off the 200 and came back down. Here it bounces off of it and goes up. So something to keep in mind on the AMC. Previous, what are we looking at here? Yeah, I mean, here's, so 30. I mean, we're going to see a small pullback come Wednesday, starting on Tuesday, in my opinion. How much of that pullback, I don't know. The market is in such a rally that you're might see a lot of traders just kind of hold on to their position and then get out depending on what the minutes. I don't know when the minutes are going to be released, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on here. Let's see if we can draw another line here. With AMC, I drew this line here, and I kind of did a rough drawing, but when you look at this thing on the 5-minute, it's holding up pretty close. So, sometimes I'll just draw lines just to kind of see if it matches up with anything. But the real lines are, start at the top. Let's see what that does. That's key right there. You've got a definite previous rejection, major rejection here. And it'll be an interesting day for AMC. Just don't be surprised, though, if it continues to reject off of this line. When you take a look at your other time frames, we might bounce down to here, but we might, we might bounce down here to previous support and then shoot straight up. But because people are taking into consideration the FOMC minutes on Wednesday, it might stop out right here. People might get out of their positions and just to kind of hold on, and it might run up against those lines. You never know. All right, what else can we take a look at here? What was the other one that we were looking at? I posted an article that came across on Mullen, and in my opinion, I would stay out of Mullen. I agree with Johnny, and there were a couple other folks that I think are calling it. Especially when anytime BlackRock or any kind of major fund buys up a stock like that, it's because they're going to sell the shares in option contracts. They'll basically sell puts or contracts like that. The funds have a more advanced creation of these option contracts, and they'll create multiple legs and various basically provide liquidity to the market to an extent, but they're not buying in Mullen because they think that the company has a massive potential for future investment. They're going to do it to create a product and then sell it to retail traders who apparently keep buying it up. What else we got here? What was the other one? I promised someone that I would do analysis on. You guys are awesome, man. I love the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. I think I'm going to be 45 My real birthday is actually in a couple days. See Fubo here. Walmart might be good for an earnings run up. Walmart started shooting up. Um, yeah, Friday. Look at that. That's a very we. I kept trying to find the news, and I'm not sure. It could just be that option contracts were cheap at that point, and as more people started buying in to get it cheap, the premiums obviously were going up. I bought what did I buy? I think I bought like a lotto or something. Yeah, $27. I believe they report this week, and I need to do an options contract, not necessarily a class, but what I've learned when it comes to options, because I don't know everything about options. I can only tell you what I've learned up to this point, but there's so much to learn just about options in general that you really need to know. And one of the things is that you want to look at when you're even considering an option contract is first of all the expiration date. Um, if this one is an August 19th expiration, I'll probably take whatever profit is coming before earnings are released, before earnings are reported, because the IV crush, the implied volatility for Walmart in being in the 30s is it's not too big. That's not high up there, but once the closer we get to earnings, that IV is going to go up. The premiums are going to go up. The IV is going to go up, and the higher that implied volatility is, when you purchase that contract, you're going to pay a high premium for it. But the day after earnings, that IV will dramatically be reduced, and they call that IV crush. And that when that happens, we've seen it a lot. I've played a lot of lotto plays on even stocks that beat earnings and shot up in price. When the market opened, the IV crush not only killed all the profits that I would have had, but it cut my premium in half, my profit of even breaking even in half. So kind of just going from left to right here. Let's see, where's the contract here? Okay, so I think I paid 20 something dollars for the 143 strike. And you have to be realistic about the options that you're getting, because the d- the bid is what people are willing to pay. The ask is what they want to get for that option contract. Last is what the last person paid for that contract. So they were able to get a little bit of a discount between 64 and 71. Now, the man, I should have chosen a much higher delta. The delta is one of the most important things, because for every dollar that the price goes up, so Walmart is trading at 132. When it goes to 133, generally speaking, because there will be changes in the Greeks, changes in the delta, theta, gamma, all that stuff. As volatility picks up, as the price goes up and down, yeah, even the VIX has an impact on the Greeks. Um, Generally, if we're here at the money, 132, 133 is at the money, 132 is in the money, ITM, OTM. We would get $47 for every dollar that this goes up. So when Walmart hits 133.22, you'll get about $47 on that options contract. The, the open interest and the volume. I've tried to choose the contract somewhat close to in the money or at the money, depending on the account that I'm trading on. But clearly, there's a lot of interest here on these, on the 140 strikes. I should have picked that one. Um, because the further out that you get, Walmart's a slow mover. Their float is 1.4 billion. So it's not like a TBLT. The price is not going to move very fast as more people buy into it. Luckily, you've got Wall Street that trades Walmart, so that's going to move it a little bit. But realistically, you want to be closer to the money because that's where you're going to make your money. So the folks here, I chose this strike for a potential run up, and you have to take a look at the chart. Where's resistance going to come at? You got your first here at 134. Yeah, you've got a gap here, previous gap. Let's go ahead and mark that off. This is it's important to note. Previous gaps, they won't always get filled, but they tend to get filled in a lot of cases, but not all the time. So we could see a run up back to past previous support or previous resistance, and it could top out at this 136. So you've got to keep that in mind. That's Walmart. What else are we looking at here? I see some Fubo, V, P, trying to find that stock. T2. This is a good one for an example. T2. I personally would stay out of T2 only because they have monkeypox news, but the news is just that they're gonna create monkeypox test news. Pre-marketing plans to develop a diagnostic test for monkeypox. Well, that can mean anything, but right now it doesn't mean anything. I can plan on winning the lottery, but actually doing it is a whole different story. So the float is 162 million. It's just not going to move all that much. What else do we have here? Let's take a look at what we had after hours. Load, gold stock. Earnings, they miss estimates. What's it look like on the 5-minute? Yeah, anytime you have a stock that's under $1, you're gonna, and it's on the Nasdaq, then every company knows that after 90 days, a certain period of time, in some situations, the Nasdaq is going to give them a notice of a delisting because if you trade on the Nasdaq, you have to trade above $1. Otherwise, you get delisted. So, how long's it been since they were over $1? Right around here. So 5, 6. So they're coming up to if they haven't received a notice, they will. What was their? Let's see how much they lost. Lost per share 20 cents. Yep, that's a pretty big miss. They were expected to lose 6 cents. They lost 20 cents. Float is 58 million. So for them, that's low. And you're looking at past resistance right around in here, which is really close to where it's at. So with these kind of stocks, the the entry point was down here in the 60s or lower if you were waiting for earnings. Kind of had a little bit of a run up, but nothing significant. And it might go up to 85. Ideally, of course, uh, they're going to try to pump it in some way or another if they can up to $1. But you've likely got some pretty strong resistance here and definitely in here. So don't think don't I'm staying away from this just because the potential for it. They've already missed earnings. It's bad, and people are going to take profits right at that dollar level if it makes it up there. So Tuesday morning, I think this is a Chinese stock, I believe. Oh no, Tuesday morning, the store Tuesday morning. Oh yeah, been there several times. Float 80 million, 27 cents. Afterwards, shot up to 35. So this is a squeeze. They shot up here. I'm imagining that they Tuesday morning skyrockets. That was 5 days ago. 32nd amid bankruptcy talk. Tuesday morning rockets 32% amid bankruptcy talk. You can't make this shit up. So um, this is to me, this is a short squeeze. So they shoot up. Shorts jump in and pile on the sucker because they know that's crap news. It doesn't make any sense why it's jumping up there, and they just short the shit out of this back down. So you've got your first day jump, first day, second day, third day, and the squeeze is starting to. I say a squeeze. It's not really a squeeze. The shorts are covering, which can look like a squeeze. It can be a combination of both shorts covering and squeeze. And these types of scenarios, we look at pretty often. It can be profitable, but you ideally wanted to get in here where we had some pretty strong support. But I don't recommend trying to get back into this. If the short's covered, let's take a look. I'm gonna look up my short crystal ball here called Mumu, TUEM. Yep. So the shorts shorted the shit out of this on the 8th, and that's where we started to see it. So started to jump up, and really in here trading off of the 21 EMA, that would have been a great entry right in here into the closes. It just kept climbing. When you're looking at these types of charts and you think, shit, man, have I missed the move? You've got two things going on here. You've got it's holding support. Where's my VWAP? So it's holding above VWAP. That's good. And when you go to draw your trend line, it's holding support as it makes its way up that trend line. Same here. So, and another thing I love about Webull is that this trend channel right here is just outstanding. Doesn't matter where I put that line, it'll draw it out for me. And if I want to change that to get a kind of a more clear picture of that trend, you can watch this as the trade is happening, and just see that it's if I pulled this back to right here, and you're trying to figure out what entry to get into once it started bouncing off of this kind of support line that you had drawn here and the trend line here. And if your entry was here bouncing off the 21, because that seems to be it seems to be where other traders are trading off of, and your entry was here, then you could see where that trend line was going. And it never dips down. If I'm trading this and I enter here, I'm looking for my stop to be somewhere with the break of this bottom trend channel here. Your stops can vary, and depending on where your entry is, you want to keep a tight stop, especially in this situation with the float and this kind of news. Just certainly would not recommend trading this one, but that's just to give you an example of where you could enter the trade based upon the price action here. And then the next morning, especially if you're under the PDT rule, this thing shot up, and that would have been a really nice play there. But once the quicker it shoots up, the more vertical the price action goes, that's not a healthy trend. It's not a healthy price action because shorts will just pile into it, and momentum traders will take that trade and get in and get out. They'll get in with thousands of shares and take the 5, 10, 15, 20 cent run if they're lucky, and then get out. And that's what happens. So once this area breaks here, previous day's high, once that broke, then your short sellers come in, and they'll keep adding, they'll scale in, and what they like to say, look left. So once this support breaks here, sometimes a price action will try to come back up, look left. This will be a little bit above here will be your short sellers stop. And that's why when it starts to get kind of close to that level, more shorts will come in. But in this case, they were also using the 9 EMA to trade off of. So, all right, what else we got? Genius Group, 10 million float. This is barcoding is what it's called because there's almost no volume. You really don't want to trade charts like this. I think I put a Redbox RDBX. Was it Redbox? No, Black Box stocks. The chart looked a little bit better than this, and that's why it took a while for the price action to get to a level. There's not enough volume, so once you get in, it's hard to get out. Not much liquidity. The volume on this traded from Friday 200,000, so that was a busy Friday at only 200,000 shares. Cannabis Corp. I don't know much about this one. Transcode. Here's your V. In case you missed it, the V will be, it might be a hot play at market open. It's already kind of ran up quite a bit. So it's a 3 million float, and the closer it gets to 10, the more likely it is to kind of peter out. And 10 is a strong psychological level. So if it can break through 10 in pre-market, it's definitely a possibility. Then it could continue higher. Could break past it, break past resistance, and if it comes back down and retests 10 and turning it into support, you could see it continue higher. Let's see what the 5-day, what are the stocks? Oh, MBTA. So I don't know if y'all, I saw, in all honesty, I saw MBTA pop up in a lot of different places. I try to keep an eye on social media, Twitter, just a lot of different places. And right in here, I think I alerted it right in the 5s here, I believe. But what's going on here, because the news wasn't that great, but it's the amount of short sellers that were on this stock. Once this thing broke this level here, shorts started to cover, and then they started to panic. And so this is a classic major short squeeze. And in one of the videos I've got that I posted earlier, y'all can go back and watch, I cover this in a little bit more detail. In order for shorts to get out of a position as quickly as possible when they get squeezed pretty hard like this, because this traded 150 million shares just on Friday, not on this day, just on Friday here. So the amount of shares they traded here was a lot more. But the short sellers will trade to get out of a stock. They'll have to sell, or excuse me, buy in the short sellers case. They'll have to buy using a market order, because if they use a limit order, that limit order will likely get that number, whatever number they use. Let's say they wanted to get out at $4. $4 might get skipped over if you use that limit order, because all the other short sellers are trying to get out, and they're tripping over each other to get out, and they're all using market orders. So with a market order, you won't get filled at a specific price. You might get filled 10 cents higher or 15 cents higher. You're just trying to get out of there as quick as possible on the short side. And so that's why you get these massive what are called squeezes, because you have now, at this point, you have short sellers trying to get out, and now you have buyers coming in to buy that squeeze, and that's what happened. The volume was just massive, just massive. In fact, let me put up here the indicators. Do. So if the right there's about 10 million, I mean that's 100 million shares traded in an hour. It's ridiculous. So perfect example of a short squeeze. Now this is a healthy grind down, in my opinion. You know, you could have another short squeeze today. Keep it on a watch list, that's for sure. And what you want to look for, in fact, take that back. Let me look at the. I use Moomoo. It's called NVTA, which sounds great. It sounds silly, but Moomoo gives you free access that's updated daily to the short analysis. So as what date is this? On the 12th, Friday, there was still a lot of short going on. Total short volume was 14 million. The day before that was 13.3, and the day before that was 28 million on the 10th. So here we are on the 10th. So you had on the 10th, you had 28 million shares shorted, and on this day you had half, and on this day you had half. So shorts we're still shorting quite significantly, but even though it's half of what this day was, that's still quite a bit. And so it won't take much to squeeze them again. And that you could have had shorts covering here. Once this support level here was pretty much becoming more defined, because price action would not break through that level, then at market open, you may have easily had quite a bit of short sellers go ahead and cover their position, which is what pushed it up higher. And then you maybe have some non-short, some long traders come in and buy this, creating a smaller squeeze. So now it's above the 200. It's on the 5-minute chart. Now it's above the 200, and the 200 is holding. So if you're looking to get into this trade in anticipation of another short squeeze, which short squeeze is not going to send this thing back up to the 10 level mark. You know, I called this at 9. I think the first thing I called it was at 10. I backed it off to 9, and then I backed off again at 9.75. And even though we got pretty close to it, you want to be realistic about how much of that squeeze is going to happen, because we've already kind of been into a squeeze. We went from 9s back down to, we've already dropped by half of the price when at the top point of the squeeze. So, this is probably a realistic level with the amount of people that are kind of stuck on the long side. You have a few short sellers in here, but this play might be done. If it does get squeezed again, if this 200 holds, be realistic that you might get a squeeze up here in the 6s, maybe $1, but don't think that this thing's going to shoot back up to 10 unless there's another catalyst, unless some news breaks, unless there's something out there that unless there's a catalyst of some sort. So let's take a look at QNRX, because I've been watching and waiting for this one for a while. I think a few other people got in here. When did I first? I don't remember when we first talked about this one. This is kind of a similar situation. You've got short squeeze, massive short squeeze here. And let me see, how many shares do we have that's shorted? QNRX. We're going to move on to some blue chip stocks here in just a minute. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of shorts still in this one. I feel like a lot of them have covered. This one has a float. I mean, the float is 500,000 float. Is this stock could easily, obviously easily, shoot right back up to $28 again. I mean, that's just a shorts got in here, and then they got squeezed hard. And because this is such a low float, this is a short squeeze, a shorts nightmare if you get in too far at the bottom. A short seller's dream is to get in up here. And so you and at the same time, you also have a lot of bag holders up here. So what I want to do right now is to create a rectangle. You got trap supply, a lot of sellers, they're stuck in the stock, and a lot of it's up here. So whenever you're planning your trade, or this is a way to plan your trade, if by chance the price gets above this level here, it's likely going to get slapped down hard in this area. So the smart thing to do is to take profits, unless there is some type of major catalyst, news breaking, uh, contract with Amazon. Not they're going to sell their product on Amazon. I don't know if it's algos and a mixture of retail traders that pick that news up and they think, oh shit, they've got a contract with Amazon. No, there are a lot of companies that will mislead you in the news that they report. If their product is being sold on Amazon, got to read through the news, read past the headlines, and or you'll end up here at the top like a lot of folks holding the bags. So be very careful with that. So this was trading at, this was a reverse split, I think. I think this is one of the stocks that we identified after the fact, but yeah, here's your reverse split. So this stock was trading under $1 for a while. They likely got a delisting notice from NASDAQ. I don't want to go spend time going back and looking at the news, but in order for them to not get delisted, they did a reverse split. So they probably did they did a 10 for 1 reverse split, which increased their price from 33 cents to $3 and whatever. And it just traded sideways for the day. And then all of a sudden, in the after hours, you will get traders that have a lot of money or a Discord chat room with a shit ton of members. You will get a lot of bids coming in and buying. And so what you'll see over here in the level 2 data is a gap between the bid and the ask. And sometimes it's 1 cent. Sometimes it can be whole dollars like with HKD, but you'll get a gap in that bid and the ask. And so you can't place a market order to get in pre-market or after hours. It has to be a limit order. Well, if the only sellers that are available out there are the ones who are offering that stock at, come on, sorry, if they're offering the price, if price is around for 536, but the only way you can get into the stock is by buying what a seller is selling at 581, then you have no choice but to pay for that. And that's why it's important to be patient, and you don't always have to get in at that price. Now, granted, if you got in at 580, yes, if this thing shoots up to $8 and you got out, you made a great profit. But if you got in up here and it came back down here, you're holding the bag again. But this was a reverse split. Stocks are very hot right now. And so, especially the ones that are low float, I'm keeping my eye on QNRX because there's going to be an opportunity to get back in on this one where this type of setup, first of all, where this type of setup is going to create and turn into this type of setup. Will it go up to $28, $30? Probably, maybe, I don't know. It just depends on the volume, depends on when the market gets bored with blue chips. You've got some hedge funds that do trade small micro cap, low float type of stocks. Um, and that can likely create these type of massive moves up. So I'm waiting to see, watching QNRX. It is definitely seems like it's found some type of support between here and here. And if it drops lower, especially if it drops below, under 4, I personally will be buying. I have a very, very small position in a couple of my accounts on this, and I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for this break below 4. I'd love to get it in here above 350, and there's still decent volume. 800,000 shares. It does not take many shares. That's trading more than the float. The float is 550,000, and this has traded 1 times the float on a slow Friday. So that's good. When the stock trades 2 times, 3 times, sometimes even 100 times, but when a stock trades the float multiple times, that's a very good sign that there's a lot of interest in the stock. And that's what you want, liquidity, to be able to get in and get out. All right, what else do we have here? That's NVIDIA, VRNA. Here, I mean, you don't have to draw any lines. You can just see that this is trading on an upward trend. The only problem is, let's take a look at the daily. Whenever I do charting, I see a chart like this that looks very interesting to me. Right now, I don't want to look at the news. I don't really care about the news. The news will be kind of like a final confirmation for me, just because I want to focus on just the chart itself. Because I'm sure you're all well aware, it doesn't matter what the chart, the stocks can skyrocket on the shittiest news out there, period. So the first thing I want to do is take a look at the daily. And this thing has, they call, a lot of traders call them one and done. They will shoot up one day and next day just drop and it's done. But if I don't have this already marked up, then I will come here and I'm going to hit these top points right here where there are very clear levels of previous support and resistance. Let me scoot my chart over a little more here. I'm going to go to the weekly to get a better picture here. So clearly 25s. Sometimes you don't want to do too many lines, but when you've got something like this on the weekly chart, this is a very clear sign of previous, what will be resistance. And there seems to be something in here. I would say that this gap here, the gap is already filled. That's it. We'll leave it at that. So now we'll back off and we'll come to the daily chart. So the price is at 13.59. And what I'm looking for are a few levels above and a few levels below, because if this comes back down, I want to know at what level of support is this going to catch? Do I need to be watching for? If it breaks through previous resistance and comes back down, it should, if you're lucky and the volume is there, then it should bounce off previous resistance, which has now become support. The break and the retest is what it's called, and that's a very key thing to look for in stocks that are trading. But even though this has some attention, it typically just shoots up and it's done. It doesn't have healthy price action like this, where you get a trend up and a pullback and it finds support. This is a trend up right here. And this is ideally what you want to see. Probably a news catalyst, whatever it is. Earnings here, too hard to say at this point, but it's another thing why I love Webull's trend channel drawing, because there's a middle area of that trend channel that is clearly a secondary source or a secondary indicator of support and resistance within this channel. So if you're trading this stock and it breaks on good news, well, the first point, and it could be previous resistance, a line in here, yeah, you can see that very clearly. And you may not be able to see it, you may not be able to see in here where there's previous support and resistance. If you, well, obviously if you look left here, that it might be difficult to see. But if you're trading anywhere over here, it's pretty easy to see that this level became support or resistance. But the important part to know, to learn, and to keep in mind about this channel, once it reaches a top part of that channel, if it doesn't have another catalyst and a lot of volume to break through that, it's going to come back down. Where is it going to find support? In this case, it found support at the middle channel, came back up and tried it again, twice, and did not have enough to break through. And so it came back down and broke through the middle channel for a retest in that channel. And it maintained, the price action maintained in this channel for a second, excuse me, I would call this the first, creates a channel, second, kind of a third, and even a fourth. So this is a really good, nice trend upward on, uh, in this case, in this trend channel. And it tried it again, but just could not break through. And what date is this? This is March of 2021. So anyways, looking at this stock, now that we've got the daily, I want to bounce back out to the 1 hour. I clearly have, and now you can kind of see the trade, what the traders are trading off of. They're trading off that previous support. So when I come back, support and resistance, I mean, when I come back in here to the 1 hour, I want to adjust these levels just a little bit to give me a better idea of where traders are trading off of. And let's drop it down to 15, see if that opens up anything else that maybe we need to make some more adjustments. I'm going to drop it down to the 5 and we should be good. So now that I've got the 5-minute chart, you can see that traders are buying this off of the 200 moving average. I have EMA on here. The 200 MA should look pretty similar to this. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're a little bit more different, and it doesn't hurt to pull up different indicators, always on different time frames, to get a picture of what are traders trading off of. And the trend here, let's go ahead and draw this. Trend here is clearly up, but the question is it going to be able to break past this 1473? It's going to be a major test. You don't want to get into this stock unless, especially if you're bound by the PDT rule, because if you get into this thing and you've got a lot of sellers in this area here, and when I see sellers, I'm including short sellers in that, because if I'm a short seller, if I'm a short trader, and I see that we're coming up to a key level of previous resistance, I'm going to start piling in on the trades here. And if I have a lot of money and a lot of friends, we're all going to be looking at this point right in here. So unless it has another some type of news catalyst to push it past that, then the best entry, in my opinion, for this particular trade would be once it touches this up here. And stocks tend, they go up and they go down. And the trend lines, this is where your technical analysis comes in. Your MACD, I like to use this TTM squeeze because it kind of gives me an additional level of um, a clue or support evidence to support your theory on trading. And there was a little squeeze here, it looks like. But you've got the MACD here. It's trying to touch back above it. Right now, it's on a bearish trend coming down here. And the RSI, we're still, yeah, near in the 60s. The 50 level is probably the mid-range. Anything below your 40s and 30s is always an ideal RSI, but it quickly got up above there in the 85s, right in here. So all right, let's take a look. What am I going to be trading tomorrow? I'm going to be looking at Tesla. Tesla's a favorite of mine, just because it's for the most part predictable, but the option contracts, this thing moves so much. I mean, this went from 855 to 905. That's 60, excuse me, $50, 50 points. That is a hell of a move. And so if you timed it right, if you can time it right and get in an option contract here, and close out here before the close, if you got a day trade, you it's not ideal, especially in this market. You don't want to hold over the weekend unless you're just really, really confident. And I was not confident, especially going into FOMC meetings, minutes meetings this next week on Wednesday. I was not confident in holding over the weekend, other than the Walmart kind of a lotto earnings run up is about it. So I'm going to be looking at Tesla and what there's some other stocks out there. DK, what do you have going on here? You've got some good ones. What are we going to look at here? Trading floor. Mullen actually had a lot of volume coming into it, but I don't know if that was because of people buying off the news of BlackRock, which just if anyone new joined, I'm personally staying out of Mullen. Um, you had definitely had BlackRock announced that it bought millions of shares, and to me, it's just it's too risky at this point. DKNG, Dark Knight loves DK. Dark Knight has a very specific select stocks that he likes to trade, and he knows them very, very well. DKNG, man, DKNG was down to what, $6? This thing dropped. Look at this shit, man. Dropped down to 977. This right here was a great run, and I want to share something real quick for you guys, because this can make anyone a lot of money. We just have to be we just have to be ahead of the game and to be able to see what's coming. And it's very easy to do when you draw using your technical analysis. There have been a lot of stocks that look exactly like this. Okay. And when it comes time for earnings, you'll see about 2 weeks in advance the price will break through this trend line here. Yeah, it went up a little bit and came back down and retested, a previous support level or previous resistance. Where's that? But then it just took off. So, in these situations in the run up to earnings, you could buy an option contracts 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, and make some damn good money off of a 10-point run. So if anyone sees on the daily chart a stock that looks like this, and it's getting close to breaking out of that channel, please tell someone. Just say, hey, this looks interesting. Would you take a look at it? And any one of us would be happy to take a look at it further. But now that we're reaching the 200 moving average here, for me, there's no trade on this because it will likely hit previous. In the past, it has traded off of that 200 moving average and rejected it numerous times. So that's DKNG. Yeah, and Dark Knight's got it in there. It's about to hit the target. He's already got it drawn for you. What else do we have here? pick. JCAS got pick up. Let's take a look at pick here. Pick's an old favorite of mine because it's a 2.6 million float. Very low float. Micro float is what I call them. And if you look at the history in the news, Kid Pick produces, I believe, children's cartoons, and they were picked up, I believe, by the Disney Network, or they are creating content for the Disney Network, and that's what happened here. If we go back, that was on March of 2022. So if we go back to March 17th, I believe, another 18%. Yep, tie-in with Walt Disney Company's cheaper by the dozen. So that's what it was. Provider of clothing subscription boxes for kids. Okay, so that's what they are. So previous runner, and this one stayed up there for a while, trading up into this little range. So this is, as a trader, when you're looking at past stocks, you like to see it trading in this range. Trading in somewhat of a range, obviously. Once the interest rates started going up, we obviously trailed down. But now the stock is in another range. What kind of a range is it in? For trades from 2 to 250. Not a whole lot of room there in that range, especially in here, but we're quickly approaching 260s with the potential to jump up to 3 or possibly past it. So definitely has volume coming in. This is it's a good sign. Let's see what it looks like on the 1 hour. Yeah, it's pulling back, and let's see how it does off of this level here. Let's see if it bounces off in a continuation higher. So that's what I'll be watching for. When the trade or the price action breaks below this or a support level, or breaks out of a trend line, that's when you need to start thinking about an exit. Depending on where you get in on the trade, because there was clear support being held on this 200 moving average. This is on the 1 hour chart. Let's see what it looks like on the 15, on the 5. It's easier for me to identify a predictable trading pattern on the 15-minute for this. But once this had a little bit more volume coming in and prices started kind of going up, especially after you had a big spike here. This could be shorts could be covering, could be slightly squeezing. Let's take a look at the short sell information. Yeah, you got a little bit of short volume. 142,000 shares shorted on Friday, and you had almost 300,000 shares shorted 3 days before that. So in the last 5 days, you've definitely had more short selling coming in. So that's good. Yeah, this would be a good one to watch. Because if it breaks out of this level up here, 275 range, you could easily see a push or a short squeeze up to 365. So what else do we have here? AMRS. AMRS, in my opinion, is a similar, almost very similar to the Verona that we've already marked up. There's definitely a clear upward trend pattern. It's bouncing off. In this case, I believe that's the 50, no 100 EMA. But it doesn't have much more room to run in here. If it breaks past $4, breaks and the retests it and bounces higher, then you've got a continuation in your hands. And this is a perfect example of that right in here. Previous pre-market high, broke right through that. And what is this, 15 minutes? Let's take a look on the 3. So you had, where are we at? Here we go. Broke past here. Had a little bit of previous test of that support, and then just continued higher on the 9 EMA. So, I mean, this would have been you could have got in a couple of different spots here. Your risk obviously gets lower the higher this goes, but when you're trying to look left and see, okay, where's the ceiling here? Where's my ceiling? Well, I'm not seeing it on the 50, the 30, the 1 hour. We broke past this level here. What's the daily showing us? Here we go. Right there. You've got clear support, support, support. Now that we're below it, resistance. And this line here is confirmed by this right here. And on the daily, you're coming up to the 200. You'd have to break the $4 for a possible move up to the 460 range to that 200. So again, another gap that it wants to fill, but it's going to take a pretty big catalyst to get up there. And the float is 200. It's a $250,000. So it's going to take a hell of a lot more volume to move this thing. And what's the likelihood of it moving higher depending on what the news is? Is this lithium? No, this is biotech. Biotech probably is the most manipulated and the most delisted sector of all your companies on the Nasdaq. It's just easy to create a company, create shares, put it on the market, get listed on the Nasdaq, and create offerings to sell more shares to dilute it all. And now that you have the reverse split, you could just reverse that process back and continue on. KRTX, shit. I remember watching this one. That is a hell of a move over 6 days last week. Damn. Just unreal. But it's a less than 30 million float. So I want to show you something. This isn't one of the videos, but I saved this part for the very last. So you've got these companies that, what's their price to earnings ratio? What's their revenue? They made $5 million. They're trading at almost $300. Microsoft, what did Microsoft make? What was their revenue? Microsoft made, $51 billion. And fucking KRTX. This is the kind of absurd shit that that the stock market is, and you really have to. This easily could be a short squeeze on top of people piling in. And what did they make the quarter before that? Well, I'm not seeing much of anything. Maybe they just zeroed it out. So 36 billion. So the company does not make any. They make no money. Certainly not compared to Microsoft, but yet they're trading at the same price. What's their profit to earnings? So yeah, this is ridiculous. What's the volume? Only 1.3 million in volume, but because of the low float, this is likely a short squeeze. Traders, shorts are trying to get out, desperately get out, because they thought that the company was going to report bad earnings, and they probably took a lot of short positions and puts, anticipating it to drop below, and they just got destroyed. That's what this is. But now you're going to see more shorts pile. Let me take a look at the Moo here. What is this? KRTX. Does this have options? It does. Puts. Very interesting. Let's see. At this point now that you're kind of started to create a trend, this thing has to pull back at some point. So, I'm going to add this to my list. This is very interesting. Depending on what the FOMC minutes are, and as even though this very much looks like a bull run, I'm still bearish kind of on the overall market. I think they were kind of going up a little too fast, too hard, and the SPY at if we reach 450 on the SPY and nothing's really changed in our economy. China's still having lockdowns. We just printed in the last bill that went through Congress another $1 trillion. Um, yeah, I want to see what's our deficit. Not a trade deficit. What's the deficit right now? We're at debt clock. That's what I want to see. The U.S. national debt clock. We are at $30 trillion, quickly approaching $31 trillion is our national debt. And what were we? I wonder what we were a month ago. Yeah, could look it up later. But I'm still mostly bearish on this market for now. But don't fight the trend and don't fight the Fed. Trend is your friend, and if the trend is going up, then oh shit, wow. Okay, so to kind of give you guys an idea here, this stock KRTX, what were we looking at? The stocks that have a high short interest, they typically have a few million shares. No, I take that back. I must be reading this wrong. Total short volume for Friday was 383,000 shares. That's not very much. That's not much at all. But in the last 5 days, it's definitely had a lot of shorts piling into it. So I'm gonna be looking to buy puts on this, depending on. Yeah, this thing has to kind of top off and start rolling over in order for me to consider taking options here, puts. But you get the idea on the short squeeze. What else are we looking at? Was there something else? Shit, it's 1:30. All right, man, I think that's gonna do it. Does anyone have any questions? Uh, all right. Well, I appreciate you guys. Tomorrow's gonna be probably a continuation from Friday. Walmart, Tesla. Um, that's about all I can. Oh, uh, we need to. If anyone has free time, and I know most of us don't, we should be looking 2 weeks out. Oh, this is okay. This week retail. A lot of retail traders. Target, I believe, also reports. I'm not buying any kind of lotto trades through earnings. I will be buying into the run up to earnings. But retail, we might see. I think Walmart's probably the only one that I would confidently say, especially based on Friday's trading, that is going to go up in price. Let's see what Target's doing real quick. Uh, Depending on who reports first. Nope, Target had a run up too. In fact, Target has. Okay, so depending on how Walmart reports will directly affect Target. Probably not as much, but it will definitely affect a little bit. And so we'll see how the economy is. This will be a good litmus test for uh, how how consumers have pulled back on their spending, a little or a lot. So we'll see. And then Wednesday FOMC. So expect the traders to get out of their trades on Tuesday at some point in anticipation for Wednesday's minutes, which it's a coin toss at this point on what Powell's going to say in the Fed. So good luck, everyone. I've got a conference call meeting in the morning for work, and I'll try to get on after that and catch up with you guys and see how the market's doing. So get some rest. Good luck, and I'll talk to y'all later.